Hey guys, just welcome you back to Chronically PWS, and we're at episode 12. And I wanted to just talk to you about the wonderful experiences that I had today in our drug trial meeting that was actually teleconference to the FDA. And I didn't capture a lot of the panels speaking. Just because there was so much emotion, and they had a lot of important things to say about their personal experiences with the drugs that are trying to be approved by the FDA, and just their personal experiences with prader-willi. And so I didn't capture a lot of that information. I did kind of capture some of the speakers earlier in the presentation. And I learned quite a bit today about several medications that are in the process of clinical trial, some in stage 2 clinical trial seeking approval. There was one information I actually talked to, one medication I actually talked to the pharmaceutical representative about called Aardvark, which is a bitterness receptor modifier, if that makes sense. And what it does is it basically decreases the hyperplasia response according to that bitterness that is experienced. And it, from my understanding, it's a receptor experience from the gut to the mind, so directly to the hypothalamus, that it's something instinctual, not necessarily like you're going to taste bitterness. It's that the gut will actually sense the bitterness and avoid the food. So I guess it kind of makes me think of like medications like Ally and how they change or modify the taste of food. Don't have any personal experience with Ally or what that does, but it sounds similar, but it sounds more neurochemical in what it's trying to achieve. So that was a really interesting piece. Also, there was another medication that was mentioned, DCCR. I didn't really get too deep into that one. And I actually spoke with another pharmaceutical representative for the trial is Kite PWS. And as I understand it, now this is non-hormonal, but it's supposed to alter the response from the gut to the hypothalamus. And I would just infer that would be with ghrelin, the hormone that affects hunger. So again, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do more research on that. You know about as much as I do at this point, which I'm just telling you about. Unless you've researched this and you're just referencing me out of the blue. But a lot of really intriguing things going on with prader-willi research. You know, I'm at the age now at 43 that a lot of these things that are coming about, I really don't or can't get involved in, but I think it's important for me to share my personal experience with the drug that I was involved in, HGH, and at the formative time that I was involved with that in the late 80s, early 90s, 88 to 92, and how transformative that was for me. So, you know, I really wanted to voice to the FDA that anything that can happen, anything that can be shared to improve the quality of life, to help either deal with or suppress the hyperplasia, needs to occur, not just primarily for behavioral issues, but when you think about hyperplasia, someone had mentioned it today in the meeting, and I absolutely agree with this, that it's like the monster. It's like the distortion that's in your head, the TV that's constantly on, that's playing the show You're Hungry, right? So anything that can modify or affect or change that really can have transformative effects, not only on the individual's happiness, but just overall. And that, you know, especially if they're achieving, have educational goals, life goals that they want to achieve, how wonderful could that be if that could be suppressed so they could achieve it? I know that, you know, I keep thinking about, well, I have hyperplasia, but how am I dealing with it? You know, facing something since birth, it really is hard for me to interpret how that makes me feel. I think it's changed my whole personality. And sometimes I think, who would I be now if I had a drug then? And a lot of the panelists and parents hit on this. It's like, when that are involved in these drug trials, that have seen transformative effects of these drugs, they become, the children become different. They become happy. They become receptive. They become less rigid. They become different people. So, and that for them, they got to see more of that true person come out, because that individual wasn't constantly facing or fighting hyperplasia. So I wonder, for instance, for myself, how would that have transcribed or been, how would that have transformed me? So anything that can happen, and I told the FDA this, I took the microphone, I said, HGH when I was, in '88 helped. So if anything can help now for the kids coming up now, it needs to happen, because the right intervention at the right time will breed the right outcome. And I really believe that. I believe that. I think that, and I hope that in another 25, maybe even sooner, that the outcomes are going to be different. And that everyone in my population is going to be able to achieve every dream that they ever set for themselves, or at least be on that way. At least have one more bow in their quiver, if you will, that they can achieve those goals. So that's my hope. And I really hope that meeting fell on, receptive ears today. I really do.